2025, truly a fake year. What is that? 2025? No, no. Hi, welcome back. That was not a good clap. This is the first video that I'm filming in the new year and truly it feels fake. The sun is shining outside and it's so cold, but it's still winter. I don't know, it's confusing in my mind that January is 2025. But according to Goodreads, last year I read possibly the fewest amount of books in the recent year. I read 109 books, which is still like a massive amount of books. It's almost a book every 3 days or so. It's still a lot, but last year I read almost 125 books. And this year the denominator was I was sad. I was really sad. That was it. It was not a good year for me, mental health-wise. Recovering right now, but I wanted to do something that I've never done before, in which I talk about all of the books that I've read last year in a sentence or less. I'm not going to go into like deep synopsis or stuff because I have so many videos. I have my Goodreads linked down below with all my like in-depth reviews, but I wanted to talk about all of the books that I read last year because I think like a good short video, in which I talk about all of the books that I've read. Let's go in chronological order. A lot of these books you'll find in some of the reading blogs. I'm going to link them up here or down below. I started the year right with Prince of the Sorrows. This is The Cruel Prince, but make it queer. I am obsessed with this series. It talks about the Fae in the same way that Holly Black's does, but in kind of like a more delicate writing, a more flowery, but I still appreciated it. And it kicked out my obsession with the series because I immediately read the second book, Lord of Silver Ashes, possibly the weakest out of all the three that I've read. It heavily talks about the plot and leaves the romance a little bit behind, even though the romance is an integral part of the plot. I still really enjoyed it. It does something with magic that is so original. I really liked it. And then I read The Last Courtesan of Olympus. This is a short erotic novella in which the protagonist gets to bed all the gods of Olympus. It's well written, it's well researched, is very sensual. I really liked it. Then the first dud of the year, I read Mercy by Ann Haramaki. This is an indie book. It was supposed to be a priest that falls in love with an angel in a rural town in the 20s-ish in Russia. That was not it. This was plot holes over plot holes in which two people in their like late 20s are talking like 13-year-olds in modern times. That was not it. I finished Her Supper Volume 5. Very good. I really like this series. Volume 6 is going to be the last one. My heart is already breaking. The Atlas Complex. The best book in that series, a perfect conclusion, exactly what was promised to me. I have no idea why the writing is so bad. I think TikTok people got a hold of this book and wanted it to be just like a romance, and it's not. It's a weird book about power. The Teros Trials, another indie book that one of my friends convinced me to read. Very weird. The concept of the book is not really explained. It's about mythical creatures coming to life in the 1900s in London and becoming very dangerous. It has very weird yet original dynamics between the character, and I really want to read the second book. Checkmate. I mean, one of the best books that I ever read this year. The tension is tensioning. It's about chess. I love books about chess. Just good. I started the manga series Hirayasumi by Keigo Shinzo. It has won a lot of awards for a reason. Best, like, so heartwarming. Everything that I need, like a balm to my soul without being cloying. One of my most anticipated book of the year, In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. Alice Wynne was one of my favorite fanfic writers once upon a time, and this book delivered. Very bittersweet. Very dialogue heavy. I wanted a little bit more prose, but it still worked. It's about a world war, though. Kiss Your Once for me. I had started it in December and finished it in January. I really liked the protagonist. The main love interest though, like the main girl, she was awful. She was like an awful person. I did not like her at all. And thus I did not like the relationship. House of Sky and Breath. Just a complete no on all fronts. Writing, awful. Rhythm, awful. It was too long, too convoluted. So many of the point of views were not needed. I hated Hunt. He's a wet blanket of a man. I hate him so fucking much. King of Hell. Unfortunately, another Morgan Dante book that did not work for me because this is an indie book that needed editing. The writing is so naive. It reads like somebody who is learning English writing their first essay. Unfortunately, because the concept about hell and vampires and zombies was very interesting. I reread the whole Have an Official Blessing series, one of my favorite series of all time, because I was very sad. Loved it, cried, laughed, all of the above. One of my favorite series of all time for a reason. I finished Oathbringer with my friends. Once again, please, Brandon Sanderson, get a stricter editor that will cut what is needed to be cut. It's too long, but it's very, very good. I really liked Oathbringer. I know it's not a favorite, but I really liked it. I read a translated book that has been sent to me by the publisher. It has not been translated into English yet. In Italian, it's Grande Bro. It's the story about a trans kid who is very, very young in Malmo. Very good coming of age story, very raw and real. And I read The Details by Eggenberg. Such a good book. It really feels like you're drinking Aperol Spritz with your friends and you're just talking about life and gossip. It feels like a warm summer day at sunset with your friends. Bride by Elie Hazelwood. I know the people are not going to get this. I liked it. Not my favorite Elie Hazelwood book, but I, as somebody who has been in fandom and knows what the Omegaverse is, like I have been known for a while through mangas, which you would know what that means. I liked it. I think it was fun. I read a book that's so out of my comfort zone. It's a voyage book, like a true story about a voyage called The Great North. Incredible. The author talks about his voyage along the 67th parallel all around the world, and it actually talks about the loss of his father. Beautiful, melancholic, very well written. A Restless Truth. This is the second book in the Last Binding series. Unfortunately boring. Why? It was the sapphic sequel of a very, very good book, and it was just boring. It was a murder mystery on a cruise with magic, and it was boring! My Ingeborg by Tora Renberg. An incendiary book. It talks about a very deeply disturbed man from his point of view in his brain, and he is searching for his wife, and you get to know what happened to his wife. It talks about machismo and how patriarchal society truly rottens us, both men, women, people in general, to the core. I read the whole Twisted series. I'm going to just lump them all together, saying bad, but like funny bad. First book, really, really funny, but really, really bad. Second book is like the Disney Channel original movie inserted somehow in the dark romance series. I don't know. Third book was just bad. Like the protagonist is just a misogynist. I hated him. Fourth book is kind of okay. You can feel that the writing is improving. Homestuck epilogues. I don't know why I did that to myself. They were not good. But then, pleasantly surprised, I read Daisy Hates The Great Undoing, and like, my heart. Just my heart. Like, you can feel it bleeding. I read a webtoon called Lost in the Cloud. Not all of it. I read the first 2 seasons. Unhinged. Like, you're like, oh, it's a boys' love webtoon. No, it's about 2 very disturbed people who need to go to therapy. They find each other because they have very similar problems. I liked it. They're unhinged though. Exhalation by Ted Chiang. A very dated and ill put together collection of short stories by Ted Chiang. I only appreciate about 2 of the short stories. The other ones were very either old or too long, too short. Not for me. Herald of the Witch's Mark! Yes! Third book in the Roman Blood series. Deep. I still think about this book every day. So well balanced, like the romance and the plot, and it's so shocking and violent and cool, and I loved it. So good. I need the 4th book. It's coming out in like a month. I need it now. I read another webtoon called Semantic Error. Very cute. It was nothing special, but it passed the time I was very happy while reading it. And then I did the unthinkable. I started the Live Ship Traders series by Robin Hobb. This is the second like trilogy after the first one by Robin Hobb. I read Ship of Magic, The Mad Ship, and I cannot remember the third one, but the character development of this series, just like only Robin Hobb could make me read such slow books and still enjoy them. I hate stories about pirates and stories that are set at sea because I'm very, very scared of the deep sea, and still I loved it. It is about pirates and ships who are alive, and the sacrifices that people make. Wonderful, wonderful. Tomorrow the Rainbow is a manga by Noriko Kihara that I want to talk about because it talks about drag queens, and like anything queer in Asian media really makes me happy, and it talked about it in a very, again, raw, real way. I really, really like this manga, and it's just one volume. I reread the Folk School. I reread the All for the Game series. Nobody talked to me. Nobody talked to me. I was probably in the deepest pits of my depression, and I needed something like that. I needed a hit of something, and this does it every year. Would I recommend this series? Not really. Is it one of my favorites? Yes. But I also read The Sunshine Court, which is the fourth book, like an addendum to the series. It's a very good first installment for something new, not unlike the Foxhole Court was for the first trilogy. Oh god, Café con Leche. Just know everybody was an asshole in this book. Like every single character was a fucking asshole, and I did not care about them. Icebreaker, not the one that you're thinking about, the queer one. I devoured this like it was laced with cocaine. I needed like 5 chapters more though. Why does it end like that? I needed an epilogue. That's what it was. I needed an epilogue. Dungeons and Drama, a young adult book about people in theater, people who play Dungeons and Dragons meeting. I am both a theater actress and I play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, so it was perfect for me. No, it wasn't, because it was just stupid. It was clear that the author really cared about the theater aspect more than the D&D aspect. And I just read the ending because it was just like boring. I've already seen it. Oh yeah, The Ship of Destiny, that was called, like the Robin Hobb book. Funny story by Emily Harry. Loved it. One of my favorite books of the year. She just crafted the perfect man for me, like a kind of like pathetic loser man that's also charming. I loved it. I loved the protagonist. She's such a girl boss in a non-cringy millennial way. Love them together. I read a Wattpad book, an Italian Wattpad book called Cuori Magnetici, which means magnetic hearts. A mess, a mess. You know those videos that are like mocking the Wattpad cliches, like I put my hair in a messy bun and then I was sold to One Direction? This is the book in which she goes to a new school in California and it's a gothic school. I don't know, it was just a mess. Also like mental health representation. Awful, awful. But it was entertaining. Ada Wild. This book talks about theater, 9/11, trans identity, and RFP fanfiction, like real people fanfiction. It was made for me. Not a lot of people are going to get the same thing that I got from this book, but I get it. Like I got it. I get it. Just for the summer. What a disappointment. What a disappointment. I wanted Abby Jimenez to be the new Emily Harry, and this was just a mess in my opinion. Like the writing was soulless. The sentence structure was so simple that it left out all of the emotions for me. I also do not agree with the central message of the book. I think it's such a simplistic way to talk about grief and rage. Did not like it. Lies and Weddings though by Kevin Kwan. God, it was so funny, so good and so funny. And again, another favorite of the year. If you want to read about rich people causing drama and weddings, which are my 2 favorite things to read about, that book. It was also so fucking romantic. A French graphic novel that I read in Italian called Rive Lontane. It talks about the Italian mafia transmigrating in America during the 30s, 40s. Very melancholic, very real. I loved how it did not romanticize the mafia, even though you're following a character that is in the organization. It meant a lot to me. And then I finished Rhythm of War. We did it, guys! We did it! Before the 5th book. Good However, again, too long. This time it's not the first part that is too long, it's the middle part that is too long. So again, please hire an editor. It was also very, very funny at times. Like, people discovering thermodynamics. Hilarious. Ideal on a High Lane by Andrea Siman. So short and so cliche. So like French black and white movie cliche about two people meeting each other and they're married but they love each other in the span of like one day. Meh. Now Magnolia Park's Into the Dark. I loved how these characters grew on me. I hated everybody and now I almost cried at BJ's like final speech. It was so sad but so cathartic. Dark Rising, Dark Air. Illegal how the cliffhanger leads you to nothing because the author is still writing the third book. Illegal. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Meh? It was okay. Only a person who lives in the fanfiction world would write something like this, like Flower Shop AU. It's okay. I also did not like how the protagonist changed her mind at the end, but that's like personal taste. I read Guardian Volume 1. This is possibly the only Danmaid that I didn't like that I've ever read. Because it lacked flavor. Only the two main protagonists were like funny and personable and everybody else was just like black, grey, mesh. Now Cover Story by Susan Rigetti. I wanted like girl failure and like scam girl because I was reading about Caroline Calloway. This was, however, written. It was supposed to be a thriller, like a thriller plot. It was written like a romance. Like the writing style did not mesh well with the story chosen. However, Emily White's Encyclopedia of Fairies did. It was the perfect book. Quiet and slow in the right way. Kind of like episodic in a way. Really, really reminded me of House Moving Castle, both the movie and the book, because it's funny in the same exact way. Loved Wendell and Emily Watts together. Adult drama and other essays. Read Callan and Again, I'm sorry. Good. I don't like essay collections, as you've seen. This was, however, very good. The writing style is very, very unique. And it talks about serious topics without being grating. The Shar by Bret Easton Ellis. I convinced all of my friends to read this book with me because I needed somebody to talk about. Like, insane how like the main protagonist mind spirals. How to Murder Your Life by Kat Marnell. This is the only memoir that I've read, I think, this year. Good. She has such a punchy, vibrant writing style. It talks about drugs, essentially, how drugs fucked her life, how she reconstructed it. Good, just good and solid. Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood, however, my expectations were really, really high. I don't think they connected enough at the end because the protagonist is so guarded with her emotions that she does not like open her doors enough at the end that I was satisfied with them being together. Masters of Death was really, really good in the beginning part of the book, really interesting, and then it feels like it should have been 2 books because it's so short. Like the resolution comes so abruptly and I was like, it's good, but why? Stars of Chaos or Chapeau. It's a historical domain more than like the romance is a very subplot. It's very historical, very heavy on the politics. So I finished the first book and I'm still in the middle of the second. It's because it's very slow. It's not bad, it's just very slow. And then I read Less Than Zero by Bret Easton Ellis, which is like the abridged version of The Shards. It's crazy that this is his debut novel, even though I know nepotism and money, but like crazy. And then Emily Wilde's Marvel of the Other Lands. I did not like it as much as the first one, but it was still 5 stars. Like, it was still such a high rating. Loved how Heather Foxes like creates atmosphere and characters that are so charming. Dear Dolly, the same conversation that I have with my friends at like a gossiping session in my house. I'm sure that this helped somebody. Not me though. Nothing new. One for My Enemy. It shows that this is one of Olivia Blake's like first books because the writing is a little bit more naive, a little bit too flowery in the wrong places. I also think it shows that the book was supposed to end in the middle and then she wrote another part. It really, really showed. A Farewell to Magic, a very good original book about alchemy ruined by the cliche romance. I'm sorry, the romance was such blah, even though the alchemy plot was so interesting. I read another webtoon, it's called Hazel in Class 2. First season, so cute, so heartwarming, I loved it. Second season, too short, too abrupt, the ending I did not like. It was still good, but like, Now, Sorcery of Thorn, even though it is full of naiveties, I really, really liked it. I was glued to the book. Something like magic was gluing me to the page. It was so engrossing. Then Mysteries of Thorn Manor, which is kind of like a novella. It was too long for what it was saying. Like, it said so little for it to be like 100 pages. It should have been like 30 pages and it would have been great. And then I read, oh my god, another one of my favorites. It's an Italian book called Sete. It's both a space opera and an in-planet sci-fi story about religious diaspora, discrimination, and just queer characters doing cool things. It was just perfectly balanced and like made for me. And then I read the worst book of the year. I read Ghostic, A Port Canyon Chronicle. Should I even say something that is not, this book is about incest and it's so poorly written? And I'm sorry because this is independently published, but it's just like, it's so vile, so vile. I'm not here to yuck your yums, but like, at least write well. I reread the whole Hunger Games trilogy, like the original trilogy, because I was rewatching the movies with my friends. It still holds up. First book is still my favorite. And the ending of the third book, I think it was a little bit too abrupt. I liked it better when I was a kid, I think. Still very good. I reread the Harry Potter series, like in audiobook. Not even gonna mention that. I was again sad. But I read Dark Academia for a week, and I read These Valiant Delights, which it's Dark Academia only in the beginning, and then it loses itself, like it loses the plot of the story. It was also very, very long and it needed to be edited because the writing, again, flowery but naive. And then Blood Over Brighthaven like took me by the throat. I loved it so much. Such an original take on magic and Dark Academia, like truly Dark Academia, with such a strong protagonist, such a strong story, and then the ending is what like I read Jurassic Park because one of my friends wanted to read it, so I buddy read it. Definitely more brutal than the film, more scary than I remembered. Another book about chess, I read The Alekin's Diagonal? How do you say it? I have no idea. La Diagonale di Alekin by Arthur LaRue. Engrossing historical book that is written like a novel about this chess player that was torn between Russia and France during World War II, and he has a very, very strong will when it comes to chess, a very weak mind when it comes to alcohol and like politics. Prince of Lust, another like erotic novella that just did not work. It was also set in Italy, and all of the Italian like details and context were so wrong. They were all wrong, and I was like, how did you get it so wrong? And then I read like The Savior of 2024, the Magician trilogy. Loved every book in this series for various reasons. It's just like magic in its purest form, and it's a parody, but it stands out in itself, and the writing is masterful. It's so complex, yet it doesn't wait on you that it's complex, and it's fucking funny. Unfortunately, I followed it with An Education in Malice, in which it was supposed to be a Dark Academia with sapphic bumpers, and the plot again loses itself. Like the true plot starts in the middle, which is like poor planning on the author's part, and the romance, like the tension was not there. Cosmic Heat was a novella that I read on the plane on my way to London. Again, a very, not erotic, but they have sex with an acrobat on a traveling circus through space, which was so cool, and a plant person. Very cool, very cute, written well. Another kind of like smutty novella that I read was East Coast in the Carnal Cryptids series. This has such an interesting concept about cryptids. And then I realized what primal play is. I don't like it. It's not for me. So yeah, 3 stars. Oh god. And then I read another kind of like short book, 4 Psychos by Christy Cunning. This protagonist gets kidnapped by these 4, again, psychos who are like half ghost, half corporeal. There is such a mess, but the protagonist was so fucking funny. I've never laughed so hard at a book, like with the book, with the protagonist. She was hilarious, so I love that part. The depravity, not so much. It was so fun. I listened to Two Can Play by Hallie Wood, a very short, fun novella set in a cabin in which there's a romance between 2 designers for a video game. There's not much of a development nor like angst or drama. I appreciated it for what it was. Ooh, okay, another Italian book that I read, Nella città vigile. Again, a short book about queer identities and what it means to be in this futuristic society in which we can like connect ourselves to a hive mind and relive the memories of others. Just fascinating, just written so well. I love the inclusion of all kinds of identities. I read this winter. It's about Nick and Charlie from the Osman universe. It was very sad. It talks about winter and Christmas as a very hard time, which is realistic for a lot of people, but I was just sad. But You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. I wanted to get into the Christmas spirit and I just wanted to stab everybody. It felt like puppets, like being puppeteered by the author to do stuff, and you're like, what is this? Not, no. Our Wives Under the Sea, however, was incredible. I know I have a fear of the deep sea, as I've said. This like expanded it tenfold. I read Artificial Condition, which is the second book in the Murderbot Diaries. I just did not get it. Because like there's no plot and the secondary characters are non-existent because it's so short. I love Murderbot's character. He's very funny, very relatable, but like it's just like meh. I don't get it. I do, however, get Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tash. Emily Tash does plots and characters and atmosphere so good. The protagonist grows up in this planetoid where there's a fascist society and she does not realize that she's in a fascist society. It's kind of like a cult. As she encounters the alien that she's supposed to fight. It's queer, it's wonderful. I think it lulled a little bit in the middle, but it was okay. Last book that I read this year, possibly the best book. It has some problems. It's not a 5 stars. But so good. I just watched Arcane and I read The Archive of Undying. Fuck the people who said that this book is too contrived and you do not understand anything. It just uses the second person. Please give it a chance. It's so good, so creative, so original, very queer, about 2 pathetic loser men that fall in love in this futuristic world where everything has gone to shit. And we destroyed the moon and there are giant robots and there's AI gods. Loved it so much. I'm usually so like logoroic. I talk for hours, but this time I think I managed. Yes. I cannot wait to start reading in this next year and to talk to you about all of the books that I'm reading. And I'll see you next time. Also, if you want, I have some social that are down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!